We've reported a lot about the long wait times at the border over the weekend. The Lewiston, Queenston, Rainbow, and Peace Bridges all had backups of more than an hour at some times. The only lanes that were wide open were for those Nexus card holders. Pre-approved travelers with those IDs get to zip right through usually, but the wait time to get a Nexus card is up to 9 months. That's because a bunch of the enrollment centers across the country where you do your interviews kept getting shut down due to COVID upticks, and that's led to a huge backlog and more than 8,000 more people applying every day. Just to give you a sense of the process, one of our producers, Kelly, here at Channel 2, moved to Buffalo with her family last summer so that they could be closer to their family in Canada. And here's what they went through. They applied for Nexus last October. They got conditionally approved a month later, but they needed to do that in-person interview. The family was willing to drive all the way to Detroit for an open appointment that was in early January of this year, but unfortunately, it got canceled. They then booked appointments for Niagara Falls in March, also canceled. Finally, they did their interviews on July 18th and 19th of this year in the Falls, and look at that, the good news, their cards arrived a little more than a week later. The bad news, if you want Nexus, the next available appointment for that interview in the Falls isn't until May, 9 months from now. Today, Congressman Brian Higgins from Buffalo called that unacceptable.
I will be talking with the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection tomorrow about this very issue. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done quickly. We received a lot of calls. We're already in a situation where the number of people crossing the border is way down from pre-pandemic levels, probably by 40% at 120 borders. That's not good for the United States. It's not good for Canada. This problem needs to get resolved, and my hope is that we'll be able to get it resolved.
If you think our producer Kelly and her family faced a long wait time to get those cards here in the U.S., think about this. In Canada, the centers where you do the interviews are still closed. A spokesperson there told us that they have a Nexus backlog of more than 339,000 applications. And one of the holdups is around whether U.S. agents will be able to carry guns while they work at Canadian enrollment centers. We reached out to U.S. Customs and Border Protection about this issue. This is part of the statement that we got. CBP saying it continues discussions with the Canadian government to ensure that these centers resume operations promptly and in a manner that is mutually beneficial. One family in Vancouver, Canada, that regularly visits their loved one in Seattle who is widowed is traveling more than 1,500 miles to Minnesota just to get an interview before their Nexus expires.
The problem is we go across the border a number of times a month because my mother's a widow down there and we're the only family she has. So I don't want to be able to, I don't want to have to wait in line.
This gives you a sense of how bad it is. A lot of Western New Yorkers, by the way, already have these cards. And if you apply for a renewal and you're a U.S. citizen, we've learned you'll automatically get a 5-year extension due to this backlog.